Okay, so what we just did was deliver all the blood supply from the ascending aorta, which primarily went to the heart, and then from the aortic arch, which is head and arms. And so now we are moving into the descending aorta, and the descending aorta has two portions to it. The before it travels through the diaphragm, it's the descending thoracic aorta. After it travels through the diaphragm, it's the descending abdominal aorta. Okay, so thoracic aorta is going to come first. So what do we have to give blood to as we're going through the thorax? Because remember, we already took care of the heart, right? And we took care of the lungs with pulmonary circulation. So what's left? Well, some skin and some ribs and stuff. And then there's a few organs that are running through there that you have to give blood to as well. So shown in the picture would be these intercostal arteries. They go through the costal groove of each rib and they deliver blood supply to the intercostal muscles and the ribs. And then not shown in this picture, but conceptually it'll make sense to you. The esophagus goes through here and it's a systemic organ. It needs blood. So you're going to give rise to blood supply to the esophagus. And then the bronchial arteries. So the portions of the lungs, the portions of the respiratory system leading to the lungs are not doing gas exchange with the air. And so they're systemic organs and they actually need blood supply from the descending thoracic aorta. Okay, so that's a simple way to look at. Just get it out there to the few places that are left. But then the venous drainage of the thoracic cavity is a bit of a pickle. So let me show it to you and then I'll tell you sort of why it's weird. Okay, so remember that we had to make an extra jog over to the right side because the aorta arched left. Well, the superior and inferior vena cava are more to the right side. The aorta is over there and the superior and inferior vena cava are over here. So there's some weird circulation patterns to get things in the thorax over to the superior vena cava. So that's why it's weird. We're going to run into some terms. One of them is azygous, as in azygote, as in unpaired. So these vessels are unpaired and the circulation pattern is weird. So watch as I draw it. All right, so... All right, so here we go. Oops. All right. So first thing that we need to do is we need to get blood from the intercostal veins. Let's do, which side are we going to do first? We are going to do, hold on just a second. We're going to do left side first, like in your notes. Okay. So the left side is the harder side. So what we're going to do is we're going to get blood through these intercostal veins. This is the direction the blood is flowing, the direction that I'm drawing. Okay. Those blood is going through those intercostal veins and then it's going to go into this vessel right here. This vessel is called the accessory hemiazygous vein. And then from the accessory hemiazygous vein, it is going to go up the azygous vein and then dump into the superior vena cava. Okay, so one more time. Clear it. Okay, from the intercostal veins to the accessory hemiazygous, to the azygous, to the superior vena cava. Okay, all right, so that's the left side. The right side goes, oh wait, I forgot about this one. The lower ribs right here also go into this little guy, which is the hemiazygous. And then the hemiazygous will dump into the azygous. So I'll do it one more time since I messed that up a little bit. So I forgot about these lower ribs. And by the way, this isn't really consistent which ribs actually do what. So from the intercostal veins into either the accessory hemiazygous, the azygous to the superior vena cava, or from the lower ribs, intercostal veins to the hemiazygous to the azygous to the superior vena cava. Forgot about the little guy down there. Okay, but on the right side, it's way easier because on the right side, it really just goes intercostal veins. All of these guys dump directly into the azygous, and then the azygous jumps into the superior vena cava. So on the right side, one more time, All of these intercostal veins, boop, 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 are going to dump directly into here, the azygos, and the azygos dumps into the superior vena cava. That's most people's least favorite venous circulation pattern because it's kind of hard to see what's going on there. Okay, so now let's start doing arterial flow through the abdomen. So now what we are going to do, just to give you the big picture understanding, is we are going to move, the aorta is going to go through the diaphragm, and when it goes below the diaphragm, it is going to be the descending abdominal aorta, and it's going to have multiple branches coming off of it. So I'm going to introduce you to all of the branches, big picture, and then we'll go more detail in each of them. So first, big branch, and we'll do all of these in a little bit more detail, a lot more detail. This first big branch, it's usually right under the diaphragm. That is called the celiac trunk, or sometimes the celiac artery. These huge branches right here are really easy because those are the left and right renal arteries. Okay, this big branch right here is going to give rise to blood supply to most of the small intestine, a little bit of the large intestine. That's called the superior mesenteric artery. And then this big branch right here is going to give the rest of the blood supply to the intestines. That's the inferior mesenteric artery. And then these two right here are the left and right gonadal arteries. But if you know what the sex of the person is, then it's actually called left and right testicular arteries or left and right ovarian arteries. If you know the sex of the person, this person is sexless. Okay, so the branches of the descending abdominal aorta. The first one we are going to do is this guy, which is the celiac trunk, also sometimes called the celiac artery. And that one is complicated for students, so let's run through it. Okay, so let's make this bigger. All right, here we go. Ready? So celiac trunk. How do we tell when we're in the celiac trunk? A couple ways. First of all, it's usually right under the diaphragm. There's definitely are exceptions, including one of the cadavers on Jordan campus. But you can also follow where it goes, because the celiac trunk collectively, this big trunk right here, is going to give blood supply to the stomach, the spleen, the liver, and a little bit of the small intestine. Okay, so let's follow its branches. Okay, let's do it in the order that it is in your notes. And this guy right here, that's usually really wiggly, goes out to the spleen. That's the splenic artery. Okay, then the next one is the left gastric artery. This branch right here that goes around the lesser curvature of the stomach from the left side, that is the left gastric artery. Okay, and then this guy right here that gives blood supply to the liver, plus, that is called the common hepatic artery. So one more time, the ones that we have done: splenic artery, left gastric artery, common hepatic artery. Okay, and then the common hepatic is going to branch. It is going to give rise to this one right here that forms an anastomosis with the left gastric artery. That one is called the right gastric artery. And then it's going to give rise to this guy right here, which is called the hepatic artery proper. Let me put a little more highlight on that one. That's this guy right here. And that goes to the liver from the underside. Okay. And then the last one is it is going to give rise to this one right here. And this one right here wraps around ultimately the backside of the stomach, the greater curvature of the stomach. That one is called the gastro, as in stomach, duodenal, as in it goes to the duodenum and the stomach. Okay, so one more time with these. Branches of the celiac trunk, easy branches. Splenic, wiggle, wiggle, go out to the spleen. Left gastric, okay? Common hepatic. Then we follow the common hepatic to the hepatic artery proper that goes to the liver. and then the right gastric that forms an anastomosis with the left gastric, and then the gastroduodenal, artery. Those are the branches of the celiac trunk. Okay, so we have just delivered blood supply